শুধুমণ্ডলী আপনারা লক্ষ্য করছেন ইতিমধ্যে আমাদের মাঝে এসে উপস্থিত হয়েছেন আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত প্রধান অতিথি চট্টগ্রাম বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের সাবেক উপাচার্য ও বাংলাদেশ বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় মঞ্জুরি কমিশনের সম্মানিত চেয়ারম্যান অধ্যাপক আব্দুল মান্নান। উপস্থিত হয়েছেন আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত উদ্বোধক ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের মাননীয় উপাচার্য অধ্যাপক ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ আখতারুজ্জামান এবং আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত সভাপতি ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের আরবি বিভাগের সম্মানিত চেয়ারম্যান অধ্যাপক ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ ইউসুফ। বিশেষ অতিথি হিসাবে আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানে আমাদের মাঝে এসে উপস্থিত হয়েছেন তুরস্কের জাতীয় সংসদ তথা তুর্কিশ ন্যাশনাল অ্যাসেম্বলির সম্মানিত সদস্য ও ইস্তাম্বুল ফাউন্ডেশন ফর সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড কালচারের সম্মানিত পরিচালক জনাব সাইদ ইউজা এমপি। শুধুমণ্ডলী আমরা আমাদের আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠান আনুষ্ঠানিকভাবে শুরু করতে যাচ্ছি। প্রথমেই কোরআন তেলাওয়াত নিয়ে আসছেন ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের আরবি বিভাগের তৃতীয় বর্ষের শিক্ষার্থী হাফেজ আব্দুল্লাহ আল মারুফ।
So we have a guest, our honorable, the chief guest of Professor Abdul Mannan, Chairman, University Grants Commission of Bangladesh, and Professor Dr. Mohammad Akhtaruজ্জামান, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dhaka University. And we have a guest, special guest, Mr. Said Yuja, Member of Parliament, Turkish National Assembly, and Director of the Istanbul Foundation for Science and Culture. We have a guest, our chairperson of this program, Professor Dr. Mohammad Yusuf. So now, I would like to invite Abdullah Maruf, third year student, Department of Arabic, to recite from the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. قالت الأعراب آمنا قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلتكم من أعمالكم شيئا إن الله غفور رحيم إرشاد হচ্ছে হে মানুষ আমি তোমাদেরকে এক নারী ও এক পুরুষ থেকে সৃষ্টি করেছি আর তোমাদেরকে বিভিন্ন জাতি ও গোত্রে বিভক্ত করেছি যাতে তোমরা পরস্পর পরিচিত হতে পারো তোমাদের মধ্যে আল্লাহর কাছে সেই অধিক মর্যাদা সম্পন্ন যে তোমাদের মধ্যে অধিক তাকওয়া সম্পন্ন নিশ্চয়ই আল্লাহ মহাজ্ঞানী সর্বজ্ঞ বেদুইনরা বলল আমরা ঈমান আনলাম বলো তোমরা ঈমান আনোনি বরং তোমরা বলো আমরা আত্মসমর্পণ করলাম আর এখন পর্যন্ত তোমাদের অন্তরে ঈমান প্রবেশ করেনি আর যদি তোমরা আল্লাহ ও তার রাসূলের আনুগত্য করো তাহলে তিনি তোমাদের আমলসমূহের কোনো কিছুই হ্রাস করবেন না নিশ্চয়ই আল্লাহ অধিক ক্ষমাশীল পরম দয়ালু O mankind, we have created you from a male and female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may identify one another. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the most pious of you. Surely, Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things. The Bedouins say, we have come to believe. Say, you have not come to believe. Instead, you should say, we have surrendered. And the belief has not entered your heart so far. If you obey Allah and His Messenger, He will not curtail any of your deeds in the least. Surely, Allah is most forgiving, very merciful. Surah Al-Hujurat, verses number 13 and 14. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ হাফেজ আব্দুল্লাহ আল মারুফকে। শুধু মণ্ডলী, অনুষ্ঠানে উপস্থিত হয়েছেন আমাদের এই আন্তর্জাতিক কনফারেন্সের সম্মানিত বিশেষ অতিথি ঢাকা মেট্রোপলিটন পুলিশের সম্মানিত কমিশনার জনাব মোহাম্মদ আসদুজ্জামান মিয়া। কনফারেন্সের পক্ষ থেকে তাকে আন্তরিক শুভেচ্ছা এবং অভিনন্দন। শুধু মণ্ডলী, এ পর্যায়ে বাংলাদেশের জাতীয় সঙ্গীত পরিবেশন করা হবে। আমি সবাইকে দাঁড়িয়ে বাংলাদেশের জাতীয় সঙ্গীতের প্রতি সম্মান প্রদর্শনের জন্য অনুরোধ করছি।
Thank you very much, Abdullah Maruf, for your recitations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for National Anthem of Bangladesh. I would like to request all to stand up for National Anthem of Bangladesh.
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। এই পর্যায়ে তুরস্কের জাতীয় সঙ্গীত পরিবেশন করা হবে। আমি সবাইকে আবারও বিনয়ের সাথে অনুরোধ করছি দাঁড়িয়ে তুরস্কের জাতীয় সঙ্গীতের প্রতি সম্মান প্রদর্শনের জন্য।
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for National Anthem of Turkey. Please rise for National Anthem of Turkey.
Allah
ইস্তাম্বুল ফাউন্ডেশন ফর সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড কালচারের যৌথ উদ্যোগে আয়োজিত লিভিং ইন পিস অ্যান্ড হারমোনি দ্য রিসালা-ই নূর পার্সপেক্টিভ শীর্ষক 2 দিনব্যাপী প্রথম আন্তর্জাতিক কনফারেন্স আমরা আনুষ্ঠানিকভাবে শুরু করলাম। এ পর্যায়ে আজকের এই কনফারেন্সটি যে মহান মানুষের জীবন এবং দর্শনের উপর ভিত্তি করে আয়োজন করা হয়েছে সেই মহান ব্যক্তিত্ব বাদুজ্জামান সাইদ নুরসিকে নিয়ে নির্মিত একটি সংক্ষিপ্ত প্রামাণ্যচিত্র প্রদর্শন করা হবে। আশা করি আপনাদের ভালো লাগবে।
Ladies and gentlemen, we would now start with a short film. As the central theme of this conference is Bhaban Said Nursi's Stars, a short film on his life and contribution is being presented. Please enjoy for a while.
Bediüzzaman, a luminary of his times. A person is, to a large extent, the product of his times. The golden ages of mankind produced great men who became their sources of pride. On the other hand, there are men who are great despite the darkness of the ages in which they appeared. It would not be wrong to call them the luminaries of their times. Bediüzzaman was just such a luminary. He illumined both his own times and will illumine times to come. Bediüzzaman's light appears to us as a brilliant radiance in a dark sky. When Socrates, Descartes, Weber, Farabi, and Ghazali were living, the light of knowledge and wisdom was shining at its brightest. Bediüzzaman, however, was a lone star. His light was brilliant, but all the more so because during that dark night when he was shining, there was no other luminary to show the way. Now we shall go outside to gaze at that luminous lone star. We see that at the end of his life, he tells those who wish to visit him, "Read the Risale-i Nur, and there you will find me." So then, to get to know him, we shall set out on a journey through the pages of the Risale-i Nur. First, we turn the pages of his biography, and there we find him as Molla Said. Though scarcely more than a child, he has proved his brilliance and is teaching people who have previously taught others. Then we see him declaring with utter certainty that he shall prove to all the world that the Quran contains the remedies for the ills afflicting both East and West. He diagnoses the 3 grievous sicknesses afflicting the Islamic world: ignorance, poverty, and conflict, and prescribes education, industry, and unity. He addresses thousands in the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus and urges further cures: hope, the banishing of despair, truthfulness and honesty, love, mutual consultation, and brotherhood. Next, we turn to his work called Munazarat, debates. Here he is teaching the tribesmen of eastern Anatolia about freedom. He tells them, "I can live without bread, but not without freedom." He explains to them that despotism and bigotry have no place in religion. On another occasion, he shares his bread with the ants in recognition of their diligent cooperation and republicanism. Returning to Bediüzzaman's biography, we follow him to Istanbul. He is presenting his project for a university in eastern Anatolia at the court of Sultan Abdülhamid. He is explaining the necessity of the joint teaching of the religious and the modern sciences. On the door of the hostel where he's staying, he hangs a notice saying, "Here all problems are solved, all questions are answered, but none are asked." He seems to be challenging the entire world. Next, we look at Isharat al-Ijaz, Signs of Miraculousness, and see that it explains that Quranic commentators should also be scientists and that there is need for scholars of all kinds. For at the present time, no single person can explicate the Quran. Quranic commentaries should be written by a committee of scholars, each a specialist in several branches of knowledge. Isharat al-Ijaz takes us to the battlefield. Bediüzzaman is now commanding a militia force, composing his Quranic commentary in the trenches and on horseback while defending his country. Undeterred by the exploding shells, he is ready to sacrifice himself not once, but 1,000 times over to discover a single mystery of the Quran. Again, his biography summons us. He's been taken prisoner by the Russians, but he is undefeated, uncompliant. What can one who has found his Lord lose? And what can one who has lost him find? Bediüzzaman returns to Istanbul. He witnesses the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the birth of the Turkish Republic. He witnesses, too, how unbelief gains a hold in Turkey. He wants to withdraw into solitude, but bowing to God's will, he is sent into exile to expound the Quran's miraculousness. His biography informs us that the rest of his story is to be found in his work called Sözler, the Words. It tells us about the miraculous nature of the Quran, the fundamentals of belief, the need to worship. In it, Bediüzzaman sometimes depicts the speech of the cosmos while proving divine unity. Sometimes he describes the seasons while proving the resurrection of the dead. Sometimes he opens up windows in the mind while proving prophethood. Then we examine what he has to say about humanity in the letters he writes to his students at the time. He tells them about the spirit of community, love, and the importance of serving the cause of faith, of reading and study, and of patience. We find Bediüzzaman among the pages of Mektubat, the letters, while seeking remedies for other ailments. Here he dispels the doubts modernity has given rise to in believing hearts. He cites hundreds of evidences of Muhammad's prophethood, convincing both heart and mind. He tells us about the angels, the jinns, and the tricks of Satan. He speaks of the Quran and satisfies the faculty of reason. He proves that there is no God but God. Next, we see that Bediüzzaman's productive pen is beginning to write the Lem-alar, the Flashes collection. Here, he addresses different sections of society. He lays the foundations for brotherhood. He offers instruction to the sick, the elderly, youth, children, and to women. He explains numerous matters from economics to the profundities of Sufism. Once again, his biography calls us. Its pages now tell us about his exile, followed in turn by arrests, imprisonment, poisonings, and torment. Bediüzzaman, however, is pleased because the prosecutors are reading about the questions of faith, even if with hostility. He is happy even to have gone to prison, for there are prisoners there in need of the lessons contained in the Risale-i Nur. He feels no hatred even when suffering the harshest treatment. The one time he raised his hands to curse those harming him, his heart softened when he saw the prosecutor's young child. Forgiving those who wronged him, he showed his elevated compassion. Bediüzzaman is driven from place to place and from courtroom to courtroom, but they can't silence his pen. Next are the pages of Shu'alar, the Rays collection, graced with discussions about divine unity, worship, the signs of the end of time. We see that he has transformed the cosmos into a vast book, letting the sun, moon, stars, and worlds speak as to a traveler. Wherever the traveler journeys, he receives the same answer to his questions. There is no God but God. Now, turning once more to Bediüzzaman's biography, we find him weeping for those innocents killed during the Second World War. He puts the world's troubles before his own. Most of all, he weeps for those who die in a state of unbelief. He shouts out that his cause will gain for a single person more than all of Europe, for his cause is to save faith. He even says that he is ready to burn in hell to save the faith of his people. Then he explains that the human race has been divided into different peoples so that they may all live together in peace. As we travel through the pages of the Risale-i Nur, we witness Bediüzzaman's greatness and, wondering whether other people have recognized it as well, we turn our gaze to the outside world. There we see that since his death in 1960, his works have been translated into more than 40 languages. Hundreds of books have been written about the Risale-i Nur. Hundreds of conferences have been held to discuss it and his life, and thousands of articles have been written. Institutions have been founded in the West in the name of this great thinker. We are happy indeed that this lone star has not escaped the notice of the world, and thus we conclude our imaginary journey. As we approach its end, there is something we would like to say to you who have followed it. Bediüzzaman was a luminary, and what you have watched here was an invitation to behold him. But you will find his true luminosity if you travel yourself through the pages of the Risale-i Nur.
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। আপনারা এতক্ষণ বদিউজ্জামান সাইদ নুরসিকে নির্মিত একটি প্রামাণ্যচিত্র দেখছিলেন। সুধীমণ্ডলী, এবার স্বাগত বক্তব্যের পালা। স্বাগত বক্তব্য প্রদান করবেন আজকের এই আন্তর্জাতিক কনফারেন্সের সম্মানিত সেক্রেটারি ও ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের আরবি বিভাগের সম্মানিত সহযোগী অধ্যাপক ডক্টর আব্দুল্লাহ আল মারুফ।
Thank you for enjoying the short film on Bediüzzaman Said Nursi's life and his contributions to the world. I now request Dr. Abdullah Al Maruf, Secretary of First International Nursi Conference and Associate Professor of Department of Arabic, University of Dhaka, to deliver the welcome address. Please, most welcome.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. الذي رفع سمك السماوات بلا عمد وجعل الأرض على ماء جمد والصلاة والسلام الأكملان الأتمان على نبي آخر الزمان وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحبه الغر المحجلين ومن اكتفى أثرهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Respected chairperson of this first international conference in Bangladesh, on worldwide renowned reformer Bediüzzaman Said Nursi and his work with the title Living in Peace and Harmony, the Risale-i Nur Perspective, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yusuf, Chairman Department of Arabic, University of Dhaka. Welcome our chief guest of this inaugural session, Professor Abdul Mannan, Honorable Chairman, University Grants Commission of Bangladesh. And inaugurator of this session, Professor Dr. Muhammad Akhtar Zaman, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dhaka University. Special guest, Mr. Saeed Yüce, Honorable Member of Turkish National Assembly and Director of the Istanbul Foundation. Professor Arfa Salan Asif Genç, Member of Turkish Academy of Science and Professor Üsküdar University, Turkey. And also Professor Shahjahan Mia, respected Acting Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Dhaka. And Mr. Asad Zaman Mia, BBM, the Commissioner of Dhaka Metropolitan Police DMP, and our special guests from different countries and respected teachers of different universities, representatives of various organizations, eminent Islamic scholars, representatives of different embassies in Bangladesh, media personalities, and my dear audience. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to you with greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, sabah al-khair, shubha shukar. It is our great honor to welcome you on this unique international conference. Most welcome to Bangladesh and this session. We are grateful to our guests for participation, sparing their valuable times and coming from far away painstakingly. So we must say, Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba, shagatam, hesh gal dinis. We know Imam Bediüzzaman Said Nursi was a renowned international Islamic reformer and also regarded as a national spiritual personality of Turkey. In fact, he was a great scholar of Islamic Ummah of 20th century. We observed his interpretation of Holy Quran was a unique dimension in this field. He gave us diversity and thinking and also a way out of devastating conflicts amongst some borders and factions of this Ummah. The world is now clamoring for peace and harmony. Islam is always the best to guide us towards peace and happiness. So, messages of Allama Nursi can guide us even these days to understand the pragmatic instructions of Holy Quran and Sunnah. In this context, Honorable VC of Dhaka University warmly accepted proposal of the Joint Organized Conference on this university, which is called the Oxford of the East. And really, University of Dhaka is a lighthouse of knowledge, a symbol of our heritage in Bangladesh, welcomes our scholars, scholarly participants, and Nursi-loving people over here. It is our privilege to welcome Professor Dr. Ishaq Mozel of Sulaymaniyah Demirel University of Turkey and Professor Sayyid Farid Al-Atas of Singapore National University, Professor Colin Turner, Dhaka University, United Kingdom, Dr. Muhammad Masud Rahman, Associate Professor, Aliya University, India, Dr. Hassan Sharif, Calicut University, Kerala, and Dr. Almira Akhmedova, Assistant Professor, International Islamic University of Malaysia, Professor Ghulam Nabia from Islamic University, Kashmir, and all other participants from in and abroad. And we must welcome Dr. Hakan Gulrez, General Coordinator of this Istanbul Foundation, and I must not forget our brother Mr. Salahuddin Saidi, Special Representative of Istanbul Foundation. I take this opportunity to mention that this joint international conference is the first one for Department of Arabic and also first for Nursi studies in Bangladesh. Sayyid Nursi's teaching so eternal, spiritual, and realistic that these are equally able to solve our today's problems of the world, irrespective of Muslim and non-Muslims. Peace and harmony is the main spirit of his Risale-i, which is actually tafsir of Holy Quran throughout 6,000 pages. He engaged his utmost endeavor to explore signs and signals employed into the past nature. His vision was positive. His vision was positive all the way, and he advocated to be positive and optimistic in thinking and action. What he had prescribed about 100 years back, that the main problems of the Islamic Ummah are three: ignorance, poverty, and conflict. As he is talking about our times, so this conference will play a vital role to seek remedy from our own aid box, from our scholar who open our vision towards divine indication of Holy Quran. That's why Risale-i has been applauded over the ages, not only in Turkey but worldwide. Bangladesh-Turkey bondage of brotherhood, friendship, solidarity, and Islamic leadership will be more cemented up through these interactions. Today's long sessions of erudite discussions and exchange of views will contribute to better understanding of Nursi and will show where our burning issues and problems. With this optimism and feeling hope, I welcome you once again to this conference. Thank you for participating and hostful dinners. Chok tashakur, shagatam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ ডক্টর আব্দুল্লাহ মারুফ। শুধু মণ্ডলী, এ পর্যায়ে আমাদের সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দের জন্য কিছু উপহার সামগ্রী উপহার প্রদান করবেন। ডক্টর আব্দুল্লাহ মারুফকে গিফট দিবেন জনাব সাইদ ইরজা এলভি।
Now, I'd like to request to Said Yuza to present a gift to Dr. Abdullah Maruf.
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। এই পর্যায়ে আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত উদ্বোধক অধ্যাপক ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ আখতারুজ্জামানকে উপহার প্রদান করবেন জনাব সাইদ ইউজা এমপি।
Now, I'd like to request again to Said Yuza to present a gift to Professor Dr. Muhammad Akhtaruজ্জামান, Honorable Vice Chancellor of University of Dhaka.
ক্যামেরা পিছনে আছেন, ক্যামেরা
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। এই পর্যায়ে আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত বিশেষ অতিথি ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের কলা অনুষদের সম্মানিত ভারপ্রাপ্তবিদ অধ্যাপক ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ শাহজাহান মিয়াকে উপহার প্রদান করবেন জনাব আলপারসান আচিকেন্স।
Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to request to Alparslan Atigian to present a gift to Professor Dr. Muhammad Shahjahan Mia, Dean, Acting Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Dhaka.
পিছনে আছেন, পিছনে আছেন।
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। এ পর্যায়ে আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত বিশেষ অতিথি ঢাকা মেট্রোপলিটন পুলিশের সম্মানিত এই পর্যায়ে আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের সম্মানিত প্রধান অতিথি বাংলাদেশ বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় মঞ্জুরি কমিশনের সম্মানিত চেয়ারম্যান অধ্যাপক আব্দুল মান্নান মিয়াকে উপহার প্রদান করবেন মোহাম্মদ চেয়ারম্যান।
Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to request to Muhammad Chairman to present a gift to Professor Abdul Manna, Chairman, University Grants Commission of Bangladesh.
সামনে যাবে না।
অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। সবশেষে আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানের সভাপতি ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের আরবি বিভাগের সম্মানিত চেয়ারম্যান অধ্যাপক ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ ইউসুফকে উপহার প্রদান করবেন ডক্টর হাকান গুলারজে।
I would like to request Dr. Hakan Gularji to present a gift to Professor Dr. Muhammad Yusuf.
শুভ মণ্ডলী, আমাদের এই পর্বটি শেষ হলো।